Hello, William. We find more here from the Akala Project, where we look at pre-colonial African thought through Igbo cosmology, linguistics, and of course my favorite, fiction. Today we're going to be looking at the notion of a dibia, what a dibia is. Now, the word dibia is actually a compound word. I know. There are a lot of compound words. But it's made up of two words. You have D and you have Abia that come together to be dibia. Now, D is an Igbo prefix for master. So if you were sort of like a master wrestler, you would say Onyabu Dike. If you were like a great hunter, they would say Onyabu Dinta. If you were owner of someone that sort of controlled an estate, we would say Onyabu Diobala. Diobala is sort of like tending estates, basically tending land, basically. So you get the basic idea. And it's very important to know that, this form of master is not generally in the idea of like something that lords over. It's more like the way you say when you have a master's in science, you're a master of science. You don't lord over. I'm sure you get what I mean. And the notion of abia is something that comes to you. And this is really thought of as intuitive thought. So the idea is that, let's say, for example, if you were like a herbalist, for example, at the top of your game, because you've invested yourself so much in, knowing about this science and stuff, information that is sort of like outside of, your own knowledge will come to you. The best way to give an example for this is the guy that invented the periodic table. I forget his name now, but I will put it up there. He tells the story of working so hard on the project, and one day he goes to sleep, and in his dream, the table, the form of the period, what becomes our periodic table, is revealed to him. And this is complete with like spaces for even elements that hadn't been found at the time. Now, that is a master of, I would say probably chemistry, because they have the ability to now tap into sort of like the universal mind of that subject matter. So technically you can be a dibia in anything. You can be a dibia in herbology, in physics, in writing, whatever, pretty much anything. The idea is just being at such a high level at this thing that you can now tap into like sort of like a higher intelligence with your intuition around it, basically. So that is how you get the concept of dibia. So obviously back in the day we had dibias for many different things. The one you go for healing, the one you go for divination. So you can think of it as just someone that has their doctorate in something, but just that the sign that someone did have this is to be so high up in the thinking that you can tap into it intuitively. I hope this was somewhat helpful for you in understanding what the concept of a dibia is. And please support the Akala Project by liking and following us, and of course subscribing to our Substack. Thank you for watching.